The story of Dragon Ball Super's return has been a roller coaster ride, not just for the fandom overall, but also for myself personally. So now that I'm back from Japan, it's time to give an update as far as what's going on with the series and the future of Dragon Ball Super and just what the hell happened. So Dragon Ball Super ended in March of 2018, and shortly after in December, we got a brand new Dragon Ball movie, Dragon Ball Super Broly, which wound up being a tremendous success worldwide. Now, right after Dragon Ball Super had ended, I received a text from somebody telling me that Dragon Ball Super would come back in April of 2019, and I remember Yonko Productions also stating that Dragon Ball Super would most likely return in April of 2019. Now, I did not make a video because it was too soon and we didn't have enough information. And a few months after Yonko had said Super was coming back in April of 2019, a writer from Dragon Ball Super, whom I will not name for privacy purposes, but he stated privately that Dragon Ball Super was not coming back in April and that he was working on new Kitaro episodes going beyond April. Now, it turns out that Yonko Productions was actually right in that at one time, Dragon Ball Super was supposed to come back in April, but eventually Kitaro got a second season, and that wound up postponing Dragon Ball Super a little bit longer. So neither one of them were wrong, it's just the timing was off. So a few months later, Dragon Ball Super Broly comes out, and shortly after that, Jump Festa 2018 takes place in Japan. And during Jump Festa 2018, during the Dragon Ball Super panel, Toriyama did submit a statement saying he was working on something else for the future and he looks forward to sharing it with everybody. So Toriyama himself said that the story would continue. Now, one thing that needs to be made very clear is that I take this very, very seriously. I don't report on news unless I have it sourced by multiple sources. And on the rare occasion that I report on something that does not have multiple sources, I'll straight up tell you, okay, I'm not 100% sure on this. So I'm very open and honest, and I always have been very open and honest on this channel for the past 5 years, despite what some of the scum might tell you. I've always been open and honest. So right around the beginning of 2019, there were reports coming out that Toei was shopping Dragon Ball Super episodes to different licensors around the world. This has actually been proven. We have photos of meetings and things like that with Dragon Ball Super being discussed and the continuation of the series. During that time, several different sources, I mean several, were privately discussing Dragon Ball Super coming back in July of 2019. These were staff members that worked on Dragon Ball Super. And no, I will not reveal the names because it's my job to report what I'm told, not to out somebody and possibly get them fired. I'm never going to reveal who I speak to because these people could actually lose their jobs and I'm not going to risk that. But I did show screenshots in one of my videos of these conversations with various different staff members and them saying that Super was coming back in July of 2019. So I went ahead and reported on this very confidently because there were so many different sources that were telling us that Super was coming back. And Anime AJ reported on it as well, said it was true. Yonko Productions, some mysterious Dragon Ball Twitter accounts that people have looked at have also said it, that Super was scheduled to come back in July of 2019. July comes around, no Dragon Ball Super. We find out that the staff that was working on Dragon Ball Super had been sent to do other projects like the One Piece Stampede film, a Precure movie, and other things. Because you have to understand that the way animation is in Japan now is not the way it was in the 90s. In the 90s, you had Dragon Ball Z running every week and you had 2 theatrical movies coming out twice a year. Back then, the animators were much more plentiful. During that time period, it was a bigger staff, and Toei Animation did not have so many other projects bogging things down. I'm not going to go into a whole history of the animation industry in Japan, the problems over there, but trust me, you can look it up. There's a lot of issues with the anime industry in Japan, and that's a video for another day. So Dragon Ball Super does not come back in July of 2019, and of course, I get a lot of shit from people, and I was constantly being harassed and attacked on the internet for being wrong. People were begging for me to be wrong about something since, I've been right for so many years. People had just kept attacking me about this, and it really kind of sickened me because I had nothing to do with this. I don't work for Toei or Bandai or any of these companies, so I didn't, it wasn't my call here as if it was my fault. I just reported what I was told. And like I said earlier, it was multiple different people reporting that Dragon Ball Super would come back in July, including public reports from different conventions that Toei was shopping Dragon Ball Super episodes, not to mention the Italian voice of Vegeta and the Spanish voice of Goku both said that Super was being worked on for a continuation, because it was being worked on for a continuation. We're going to get to the details of what happened here in a minute. So Dragon Ball Super does not come back in July. I do an update video about it. And in the update video, I discussed, how it got postponed and whatnot, but we were not given a date as to when it was supposed to come back. And because I wasn't given a date, I chose not to even talk about Dragon Ball Super anymore until we had something more concrete. However, there were still discussions being had behind the scenes. For example, there was talk about a movie coming and things of that nature. Akio Ioku, the head of the Dragon Ball Room, discussed the possibility of a future movie way back in July, but nothing else really came out of it. So around October of 2019, I had come across some information. I was told information that there would be a Digimon series coming back to replace Kitaro in Dragon Ball Super's original time slot, Sunday mornings, aka Saturday night for the West, on Fuji TV in Dragon Ball Super's time slot. Now, when I was told this information, I chose not to report on it because I didn't have it from multiple sources and because I was not sure. I don't ever want to report on something unless I'm absolutely sure. And the reason why I even said Super was coming back in July is because so many different people had said it was coming back who are trustworthy. It wasn't just something that was made up. There was a lot of talk about this. And I was told in October that there would be a new Digimon show. In fact, if you look at your screen right now, this is a private discussion because I knew this would come up at some point with myself and my friend Chigo Senpai, where I straight up told him that Digimon was coming back. And this was in October 19th of 2019. October. So those people that say that I have no sources, that we don't know what we're talking about, we're making news up, eat a dick. Because right there, you see it says October. How could I have known about this Digimon series that was announced on January 17th? How could I have known about it in October? But again, I was not sure. So right around this time, I started talking to people about me going to Japan to go see Wrestle Kingdom and also to just go on a vacation to explore Japan. And one of my friends, who was a friend of a friend, actually reached out to me and told me that somebody from inside Toei, somebody inside the corporation, was going to speak to me or wanted to talk to me in Japan, but did not feel comfortable talking to me on Discord, Skype, or even through DMs because they were afraid of losing their job. This is a pretty serious thing. You're not allowed to leak stuff out or discuss inside stuff with companies. And because of that, I'm not going to reveal this person's name. I never will. And that's the way it's going to be. I'm here to report on the information I'm given, not to get somebody fired. Anyways, before I went to Japan, there was the Ryo Horikawa situation. So in December, Ryo Horikawa starts tweeting out some cryptic tweets about Dragon Ball and something big coming. He had a meeting with Toei and he was happy to be back and whatnot. But it's weird because he obviously was not talking about Dragon Ball Heroes because he had been doing Dragon Ball Heroes, the promo anime, for a year and a half. And he couldn't have been talking about Jump Festa because he was at Jump Festa the previous year. But a lot of us thought that maybe they would announce something at Jump Festa. So many of us thought that Jump Festa would be the perfect place to announce something, whether it be a movie, a TV series, something with Dragon Ball Super, because Horikawa was just teasing us, and it obviously wasn't Heroes or Jump Festa. So Jump Festa comes around and there's no announcement. Not just that, but the original planned panels were changed last minute. Very unusual things happen at this event, but there was no announcement. I had made a video telling people not to get their hopes up because even though it seemed like it would be the possible, probably likely place they would announce it, there was no guarantees. And I was told directly by somebody very high up that they have no idea what Horikawa was talking about and that there's nothing planned for Dragon Ball Super to be announced at Jump Festa. So no announcement at Jump Festa. So during my travels to Japan, I spoke to somebody and I'm going to tell you exactly what I was told and what exactly happened. So first and foremost, yes, Dragon Ball Super was 100% supposed to come back in July of 2019. The report was not false. I did not lie. That is a concrete fact. The situation is it did get postponed indefinitely And the reason behind it was a multitude of reasons. Number one, when I reported that the animation staff was working on other shows and movies, that was also factual. The One Piece Stampede film, Precure, other things. What was kind of surprising was the Dragon Quest anime coming way later this year in October, November. That was also being worked on privately, and when Dragon Quest was announced, I privately reached out to Kazuya Kurosawa, who would be directing the Dragon Quest anime, but also he was a big-time player in Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball Super Broly. We talked about how happy I was that Dragon Quest was getting an anime, and he responded back saying how happy he was to work on it. And then I asked him about Dragon Ball Super, and I got no response. So again, people stopped talking. When Dragon Ball Super gets brought up, nobody talks about it anymore. Now, as I said, I spoke to someone and there are multiple reasons. I gave you the first one. The next reason, which is the most interesting one, is that behind the scenes, there's a very unique shift going on when it comes to the creative direction of Dragon Ball Super. Now, obviously, many of you know that Toyotaro has been working on the Dragon Ball Super manga alongside Toriyama. Well, apparently Toyotaro has a lot more creative freedom working on this manga than he did in the past. Toyotaro is basically the one coming up with the story, and Toriyama is approving and giving his thoughts. But this story in the manga is primarily Toyotaro's. It's still a collaboration, but it's not like the previous arcs of Super where it was Toriyama's vision and Toyotaro kind of putting it to paper and then Toei taking it and making it into the anime. Here, it appears like Toyotaro has more creative control. Essentially, Toriyama himself has not yet submitted a story to the Dragon Ball Room, to Toei Animation, for the continuation of Dragon Ball Super. In other words, whatever story he was working on is not finished. If you follow the history of Toriyama, you know he is known to be a procrastinator. During the days of the Weekly Shonen Jump era, he wouldn't write his chapters until right before publication. That's just how he is. And because we know this about Toriyama, that does not surprise me. Now, what does surprise me is the fact that Dragon Ball has rarely been this hot. After the anime and after Broly, Dragon Ball has made a ton of money for all these companies. Bandai, Toei, Fuji TV, they've all profited from Dragon Ball. And what does surprise me is that any other company, whether it be Disney, Sony, or any other company that works on genre entertainment, would have capitalized on the fact that Dragon Ball is so hot and continued the series with or without Toriyama. Well, it looks like Toei is afraid of a Dragon Ball GT situation coming up and having the fans sort of neglect Dragon Ball without Toriyama. And because of that, they are waiting for Toriyama to finish whatever he's got planned. So as of this point right now, Dragon Ball Super is still on hiatus indefinitely. On January 17th, the new Digimon anime that I had discussed privately back in October became a public story. It's now been announced, and that's what's going to be taking Dragon Ball Super's time slot, or Kitaro's time slot, in April. So as of right now, I do not expect Dragon Ball Super to come back in 2020 at all. However, I do expect some kind of announcement for the future sometime this year. I'm not sure when it'll be, but I do expect some form of an announcement as far as a movie or an anime goes. Ryo Horikawa himself has continued to tease more Dragon Ball, including supposedly at his concerts where he's telling fans, wink, wink, more Dragon Ball, but telling them not to say anything. But to me, that story is weird because nobody's actually come out and leaked it, and you would think that at a concert, somebody would say something. So that story is, again, a bit unusual. Nonetheless, Dragon Ball Super was planned to come back. Toei Animation got cold feet about making Dragon Ball without Toriyama's blessing, and because of that, we're all still waiting for what Toriyama has left to finish so that we get the next story, whether it be a movie or a TV series. At some point in the future, I am expecting there to be a creative shift to where Toyotaro and the Dragon Ball Room will probably be the primary creative minds behind Dragon Ball when Toriyama does eventually retire, whenever that is. Hopefully not anytime soon, but until they are comfortable enough to move in that direction, all we can do now is wait for an announcement. So that's it. That's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And let's just be patient and wait, because whatever's coming is going to come. We just don't know when it's going to come. So that's the story. I've always been very open and honest with you, and I hate giving people bad news because I know a lot of folks were looking forward to Dragon Ball Super coming back this year, but it's not going to likely be this year. I don't know for sure because anything can happen, but it does not seem likely it'll be this year. But again, I do expect some kind of an announcement at some point. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. And in the meantime, I will keep putting out Dragon Ball content on this channel. I love Dragon Ball. I have most of my life, and I want it to come back just as bad as everybody else does. I will talk to you soon.